The roster for the Four Nations Face-Off tournament has been set, and the Devils will have four representatives. And also, let's hear from Jacob Markstrom at a recent media availability for Team Sweden. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils Writer Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Let's talk about the Four Nations Face-Off tournament because I haven't done so yet on this show. And the Devils are going to be well represented in February. Jack Hughes will play for Team USA, Erik Haula for Team Finland, and for Team Sweden, Jesper Bratt and Jacob Markstrom. In the first segment, I will share my overall thoughts on the tournament. Am I excited for it? What are my expectations? Do I like the idea? Because it kind of serves as a preview for what's to come when the Winter Olympics approaches in 2026 and 2030. Then in the second segment, I had the chance to attend Team Sweden's media availability. They had their general manager, head coach, and a couple players, including Markstrom and Philip Gustafsson. I said in the previous episode that I wanted to give more credit to Jacob Markstrom and what he's been doing for the Devils. I had the chance to ask him his thoughts on his first year so far with New Jersey. Like I've said many times on this show, Jacob Markstrom hasn't been perfect, but I don't think he deserves a lot of the blame if things go south for the Devils in a particular game. I think people need to take it easy on him just a little bit. Then in the third and final segment, obviously all the rosters have been released and there were some players that were left off the list, including somebody like Dougie Hamilton. Was he snubbed? I'll share my thoughts to close out today's episode. But let's talk about my opinions on the Four Nations Face-Off tournament. It is replacing this year's All-Star game. And like I just said, it serves as a preview for the 2026-2030 Winter Olympics. All right. Am I excited for this tournament? The short answer is yes, I am very excited. I don't know how many of you remember, but I actually did get credentialed for the All-Star game in Toronto earlier this year, but I turned it down due to other work obligations, and I was already planning to do a decent amount of traveling the very next month. So it just didn't make sense for me to book a last minute ticket, get a hotel, especially when the prices were spiking up. But that's beside the point. The All-Star game wasn't really anything spectacular. And honestly, I'm glad that I didn't go because similar to a lot of other All-Star games in major sports, I think the NBA is also facing this. The All-Star game just doesn't have that same charm that it once had. And the fact that the Devils only had one representative participate in it, which was Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes was injured, it just really didn't do it for me. It just wasn't really all that interesting. But for this tournament, you're playing for something a little bit more. It's not just an exhibition hockey match where you're just running through the motions. You really don't care. The title of All-Star is just titular. You're playing for your country. You're playing for pride. You want to put on for your country. You want to show why you're the best country to put on the uniform, because Team Canada, they are stacked. And I'm sure the other teams like Team USA, they want to say, like, no, we have a different movement of American born players and we can beat Team Canada. Or you got a unit like Team Finland, they're going to be seen as underdogs and they're going to try to rise to the occasion and play for one another. So if you have that sort of pride factor come into play, I think you're going to get a decent brand of hockey. And it's best of the best tournament. You're getting a lot of great players throughout the National Hockey League coming together to compete against one another. Erik Haula and Jesper Bratt recently appeared on NHL Network, and Erik jokingly said that since Jesper is going to be rocking a Team Sweden jersey, he might have to rough him up into the boards just a little bit. I think he's joking for the most part, because I don't want to see anyone get injured. I definitely want to see the players compete hard, but I don't want to see anyone get hurt and impact their organization season. But I'm glad that they're taking it serious. And like I said in the previous episode, when I was basically ripping on that Rangers broadcaster for saying that Hughes was purposely trying to embarrass Shesterkin, I said it's the spirit of competition. It brings out the best in both sides. And I think in this tournament, you're going to see that. Like I said, I had the chance to attend Team Sweden's media availability, and Jacob Markstrom was asked about Jesper Bratt and what he brings to the table. Because despite Jesper Bratt leading the Devils in both assists and points, people seem to forget about him. And I still think he is one of the more underrated players in the NHL. And I'm glad that he's being given more recognition. Here's what Markstrom had to say, not only about his teammate, but his fellow countryman in Jesper Bratt. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think with Bratter too, it's you get a different view of him as a player. You played against him and you see the skill and whatever he does on the ice. And when you become teammates with the guy and see what he does and the work he puts in every day and what kind of human being he is off the ice too, I think it's he's a perfect player for this kind of tournament. He's coming to work. He's not leaving anything to chance. He's going to make sure that he's going to do everything he can to be ready and to help Team Sweden to be as successful as possible. So I'm excited to do this journey from short flight from Jersey to Montreal together.
Once again, I'm really excited to see the best of the best come together and participate in this tournament. If I had to grind an axe for one particular reason, I think the league could have done a better job of getting more representation throughout Europe, because I would like to see Nico Hischier participate in this, or Timo Meier, but their countries are not participating in this tournament, obviously. And I know a lot of people are going to mention Russia, but that's a different circumstance. They've been banned from international hockey since February 2022. I'm not going to get into it, but that's the circumstance and that's the hand that's been dealt. I would love to see someone like the great Alexander Ovechkin participate in this tournament, because you can't have Sidney Crosby and not have Alexander Ovechkin, the two OGs. For me personally, when I think of Sidney Crosby, I also think of Alexander Ovechkin, because both players have been in the league for many years. Both are champions. Both are some of the greatest players to ever play. I know Ovechkin is out with injury, but like I've said in a prior episode, hockey players heal up quickly. I think we'll see him back in a few weeks. I don't really know, but it's just like I want to see all-time great players participate in this, and it's a shame that we're not going to see Ovechkin for more reasons than one. But like I said, not going to get into the Team Russia issue. But those are my overall thoughts on the Four Nations Face-Off Tournament. I'm really excited to see it. I think we're going to see more competitive hockey, because everyone wants to put on a good show for their country. That's why you put on the uniform. I think was a great idea to replace the All-Star game for this season I think it's going to create an entertaining brand of hockey, and I'm looking forward to watching it. All right, I'm going to talk about Jacob Markstrom and play another soundbite from his media availability momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Okay. The rosters have been announced, but when this episode goes live, I will be attending a couple more media availabilities for Team Canada and Team USA. Team Finland and Team Sweden have already had their respective media availabilities. For Team Finland, you had Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, which, by the way, best name in the NHL. It's a tongue twister, but it's a fun one. And Rasmus Ristolainen. And for Team Sweden, like I said, you had Philip Gustafsson and, of course, Jacob Markstrom. I had the chance to ask Marky his thoughts on the Devils up to this point and his overall game as well. Take a listen.
One more question in English for the guys. Trey Matthews, go ahead.
Hi. One question for you, Jacob. First and foremost, congratulations. But collectively, how would you assess your first season with New Jersey so far from a personal standpoint and also a team standpoint? What's been working?
I mean, I think obviously on the team standpoint, I think we're really, we got something good, and I think we have a lot of new players and a lot of new, older players too as well, and having players like Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt, and you have Luke Hughes coming up here as an unbelievable team, and I think us as a team and with the new coach Keith too, it's a lot of new aspects on the group, but I feel like we're starting to get to know each other and kind of figuring out how Coach Keith wants to play, and I think that's the reason we've been successful so far. But I think we still got a little bit to go to play 60-minute games every time we go on the ice, and I feel like we're still growing, and the team and the guys are great, and I feel like it's whatever we're doing is working. We just got to do it more consistently. So it's for sure has been a change from coming to Calgary to coming to here. Just it's different when you're by yourself and packing a bag when you get traded, and when you have kids and wife and daycare and all that stuff. But it's the organization has been good.
The Devils are in a good position, and one of the main things that Tom Fitzgerald had to do during the offseason was get better goaltending. He did that by acquiring Jake Allen at last year's trade deadline from the Montreal Canadiens, and then he made the trade with the Calgary Flames to get Jacob Markstrom. Now, here's the thing. Jacob Markstrom hasn't been perfect. His goal save above expected is minus 0.0. He ranks 24th out of 43 goalies who have appeared in at least 10 games in that department. And I've actually spoken to Chico Resch about Jacob Markstrom up to this point, and he says that Jacob Markstrom has been good, but he's done nothing to move him out of his chair. And as we all know, Chico is a former NHL goalie, former Stanley Cup champion, so he knows what he's talking about. But Chico also mentioned that it's going to come down to playoff time, because Vitek Vanecek, he had a 30-plus win season, but he crashed and burned come playoff time. He was not the same player, and towards the end of that season, he also looked a little up and down, and that was sort of a preview as to what was to come during the playoffs. Speaking of Vitek Vanecek, I just want to compare Markstrom's numbers from last month in November to Vitek Vanecek's 2023 November performance when he was with the Devils. Vitek Vanecek, his record in November 2023, 4-3, 3.66 goals against average, and an 867 save percentage. Jacob Markstrom, he had a record of 6-3, a 2.57 goals against average, and a 900 save percentage. Like I said, Markstrom hasn't been perfect, but he deserves more respect. The reason why I'm comparing those player stats from November this year and November last year is just I want to give you guys a sense as to how far the goaltending has come for New Jersey. I think Markstrom has done a phenomenal job in between the pipes. I don't care what anyone says. He passes the eye test for me. And my boss, Dick Volano, over at Pucks and Pitchforks, he said it was expected for Jesper Bratt to make the Team Sweden roster, but it was sort of a surprise for Jacob Markstrom. I did talk about it in a crossover I did with Haley Simon, the host of Locked On Blues, in which we were previewing the Devils and Blues matchup. And I said, Markstrom's having a pretty good year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's named to the Team Sweden roster. And lo and behold, here he is. And I think this is a good achievement for Jacob Markstrom, if you ask me. And I think it really shows how far he has come as a player and how he's fitting in with New Jersey. I can't reiterate this enough. He has not been perfect. He's nowhere close to winning the Vezina trophy, but I think he's been really good in between the pipes alongside Jake Allen. So I get it. If he looks shaky at times or if he lets in a soft goal, people are quick to judge him. They're quick to basically thrash on him. But I just want to say, take it easy on him. Jacob Markstrom, in my eyes, has been good for New Jersey. And I'm glad that he was named to the Team Sweden roster. And he's going to represent his country and also the Devils in this tournament come February. I'm really excited to see what Jacob Markstrom could potentially do. Well-deserved for Markey. Somewhat surprised. Not completely. I believe he could do it. All right. We're going to transition to some players that have been left off the Four Nations roster. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Prize Picks. I've actually used Prize Picks before, especially during the basketball season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. You can now win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the sports action in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. I think it's great that the Devils have some representation in this tournament. 4 players. That's a decent amount if you ask me. 2 players on the same team. But the Devils don't have a representative for Team Canada. The favorite obviously would have been Dougie Hamilton, but he was left off the list. And there were also a few other questionable decisions, including Chris Kreider over Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson, Clayton Keller, Cole Caulfield, Evan Bouchard, and Connor Bedard were left off Team Canada's roster. I can go on. The big question that everyone has, was Dougie Hamilton snubbed from Team Canada? Because you can make a case for all those players I just listed. But I'm going to focus on Dougie Hamilton. So far, he has 21 points. And most of the offense from the blue line is off of Dougie Hamilton's stick, and he's been really good on the power play. Now, the question is, was he snubbed? I'm going to play devil's advocate. Here was my mindset. I said there was a chance Dougie Hamilton could make Team Canada's roster, but I was thinking of players that were potentially ahead of him, someone like Cale Makar, for example. I'm just like, it might be a little difficult for Dougie to make that roster, but there's a chance. But I kind of had a feeling he wasn't going to make it, if that makes sense. And here's the thing when it comes to this tournament, similar to the All-Star game, you want to give every team some sort of representation. Obviously, Jack Hughes is going to be for Team USA. Jesper Bratt was going to be for Team Sweden. Erik Haula was going to be for Team Finland. You need to make sure that everyone is given a fair shake of things. And I guess since the Devils already have 4 players representing their organization in the tournament, it's just like, how many more do they need, if that makes sense? So Dougie does have a case similar to the other players I listed. However, I'm not really surprised that he was left off the list. Now, if someone gets injured, there's a possibility that he can sneak his way in. I don't wish injury on anyone, but for Dougie, it's just like, yeah, he's a good player, and he's been pretty good on the Devils this season. I don't care what anyone says. Dougie is definitely a driving force, and case in point, last year when he missed 75% of the season, the Devils didn't get better. Just saying. But him being left off of Team Canada, honestly, I can live with it. I'm not really going to toss and turn on that. Same with Luke Hughes being left off of Team USA. Luke Hughes is very good, and he's turned himself into a very good two-way player, but it's just like he's not better than the person in front of him, and one of the players in front of him is his older brother, Quinn. So yeah, those are my thoughts regarding the Four Nations Face-Off Tournament. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Once again, take care.